turn their microphones on. All right, it's 6 o'clock. We'll bring the meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. We will start as usual by reviewing and signing payroll and accounts payable. For the period ending 11/9/2024, we had payroll in the amount of $39,956.96. We had accounts payable in the amount of $24,337.45, and we had no payments to school or New Hampshire retirement. All right, you all good, Joyce?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Have a nice night. Next, I'll take a motion to review and approve the consent agenda.
Moved. Second.
I
I just haven't, sorry,
Discussion? Yep.
I just haven't seen it yet, that's all.
Oh, sure, yep.
So it said that he's present but also not here.
For which one?
The November 5th minutes?
It has John listed as present?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll correct that.
But other than that.
And just for a modification from what is listed on the agenda, because of the election last week, we are approving tonight public minutes from both 11/5 and 10/29, and non-public minutes from both 11/5 and 10/29, which are both sealed. That's the only adjustment to what is listed on our agenda. I'll give John a minute.
Oh my God.
A lot of
The non-publics are in there, yes, in the folder, the manila folder. Give John a minute to review.
I think this is yours, maybe? I have two anyway.
All right, I'm good.
All set. Any further discussion or questions about the consent agenda?
Nope.
And so with just that one small amendment, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So we'll pass the consent agenda. Next, we will move to public comment. And just as a reminder that 2 weeks ago, when we had a meeting on 10/29, we did discuss the potential creation of some new positions at the fire department. And we invited the public, if interested, to make any public comment, either by email communication or by coming tonight. I don't believe we've received any electronic feedback on that. So if anyone in the public was interested on speaking on that tonight, please do so in public comment. And I will open public comment at 6:04. As always, please remember to come up front, make sure the microphone is on, and state your name and your street that you live on. Who's interested in comment?
Liz Faria, South Road. I wanted to know if either the town administrator or the police chief had contracts that we have to buy out if they don't stay with us, or do they not?
Neither one of those employees have a contract.
So it's at will or whatever it's called,
They don't have contracts.
contracts. Okay. I was asked about 2 weeks ago to join the Municipal Complex Committee by Lieutenant Tony, and so I said yes. And I was looking through some of my previous information on that, and I found the black and blue building. I happened to laminate it. So the black and blue building that the Norwich students had done, which I know is a little bit different than what we would have now. But on the back of that, that had listed the size and that the projected 2022 cost was 2.4 to 2.7 million. Now, I know that things have increased since 2022, but I don't think they've gone up 1,300%.
Agreed. Any other public comment? Come on up.
Good evening. Michelle Sudit. I know that you all can't talk about the two positions that are on paid vacation right now, but I just want to express the fact that it's been over a month, and I think it's time that something changes. Maybe they could at least stop getting paid or something. The other thing I wanted to bring up was I attended a meeting or a site visit at the Historical Society building last night, and there are a lot of needs at that building. I wanted to suggest that I believe there's still over $50,000 of ARPA funds that haven't been allotted. I would suggest or request that you consider that money be used for that building and the needs that they have. And if that money has been allocated, I would suggest reallocating the $41,000 for a pickleball court to maintain the integrity of a town-owned building instead.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, Becky?
Becky Dunham, 9 Black Drive. I know that at the last meeting you mentioned, or the meeting where the fire department raises or increases were discussed. I don't know that that many people watch the selectmen's meeting to understand that if they have public comment, I think there should have been another notice of some sort saying, this is what's proposed. If you're interested, please come. Because there are, 6 of us, 8 of us here tonight. And I don't know if people absorb that, if it's just in a recording, if they're not at the present room. So just a suggestion, if anything major like that comes up, to have a public notice so people have a chance to become informed. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comments?
I know that the, Liz Freer, South Road again, I know that the administrator is on leave, but as an alternate to the planning board, I also received something she sent on November 4th.
No, you didn't.
That was probably forwarded by a select board member who is monitoring that email account.
Okay. Okay.
Yep, just to clarify.
Well, I
that.
didn't know if she was doing some stuff at home or something.
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, seeing no further, we'll close public comment at 6:08. We do have a guest from Casella here tonight, but I believe Daphne has a relatively short statement about the election. Do you guys mind waiting for Casella to go first for your budgets and everything? Okay, so we'll move our waste management discussion up to the top of our agenda, and we'll start there. Andy, I don't know if you want to take the floor first, and you can come on up. You can use that microphone right there, so we'll get you on tape.
Okay. So just to correct the agenda, it's Casella Waste and not Waste Management.
Oh, I meant just the waste contract. I meant just the, I was not, oh yeah, because that is a company name, isn't it?
Yes.
My apologies, I just meant the contract to manage our trash and recycling.
The floor is yours.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Brian Groshon. I'm the market area manager for Casella Waste. We have the current curbside collection contract for the town of Brentwood. We've had that since July of 2020. Over this past summer and even prior to it, had been communicating with the town administrator about different forms of collection that we're moving towards, one of which is automated. We've had that service in several communities in the area, to name a few. Danville, Atkinson, Kensington, Stratham are a few that we've transitioned over the last 4 to 5 years. With this contract concluding at the end of this year, having those discussions about that new form of collection, as well as talking about, a possible extension or new agreement in the direction the town was going to go. And obviously, Andy had reached out to me last month, making me aware that, Karen was not available. And so that's where I began communications with him. So more or less, we're at a little bit of a, there's a gap in communication. So wanted to take the opportunity tonight to talk about automated collection and the reasons why we were having those discussions and also, hopefully get some clarity, on the way forward. So just to back up, we obviously went through COVID right at the onset of this contract. And we had been working on automated transitions well before that. But as the years progress on, it's harder and harder to find people willing to work on the back of a truck, collecting trash and recycling. It is not an easy job. It is a very laborious job. And we are challenged every day to fill those positions in order to get that work done. And then there's the safety component to it. It is a very high-risk position. Unfortunately, we've had some very significant incidences, not only in the company, but within the industry. And so you're seeing a lot of companies like ourselves make these transitions to the automated form of collection. It's also been a form of cost control to communities as well. With a lot of the inflation that we've all incurred over the last several years, it has hit us pretty significantly, whether it's labor, whether it's insurance, whether it's wages, whether, it has continued to increase at a very exponential rate. These trucks are not cheap. They're over $500,000 a piece. So to help control these costs moving forward, automation has served that purpose by controlling labor, allowed us to be more efficient. Obviously, it lowers our risk profile to be safer out there, that we don't have to worry about workers' comp injuries and things like that. So with the town's program, with a bag limit of 8 bags per household, with the every other week recycling, again, it made sense to have that discussion around automation. One of the other things that we've done in the community, so obviously aesthetically pleasing within towns where the recycling is contained within a cart. You don't have issues of recycling blowing around in very windy days, much like today. And so it helps keep it contained. It also allows us for a cleaner material as well, because people aren't bagging it. We don't like to have the recycling in bags. It also has been a way for communities to verify eligibility for the curbside program. We pick up the bags out there on the street, but necessarily in some cases, if they're close to a town line or they're near multi-unit complexes, it's hard to differentiate between who should belong to the program and who should not. We've actually found that there's folks participating in programs that probably shouldn't be. So again, it's just all around, we found it to be a benefit across all parties. And then one of the things that Andy and I talked about was the bulk waste program. That always tends to come up. So right now in town, residents are eligible to put the bulk waste at the curb. So there's a few options that we've worked around with that. So we operate the Town of Raymond's transfer station, which accepts all the material that is placed at the curb for bulk waste. We are open 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday, and residents can drop off anytime between 8 and 4 on Monday through Friday, or 8 and noon on Saturday. And it's at a pretty beneficial rate to the resident. Obviously, not everybody has the means to transport those items to a transfer station, and thus that's where we would offer a bulk waste pickup. We do it in the town of Atkinson on 3 times a year, spring, summer, and fall. Other communities, we only do it in the spring and fall, much like the town of Danville. And in some communities, we don't even actually do it at all. So Kensington, we don't do any bulk pickup. They just push people to our transfer station. So again, there's always a means. I know that sometimes it's not a perfect match, but this is something that's very important to us to move in this direction. And obviously wanted to take the opportunity to talk about that with the select board tonight, and answer any questions that folks may have.
Questions that the board has?
Yeah, in terms of bulk waste, would we be able to, would that be like if we wanted to have it twice a year, you'd be able to tell us like how much that would cost or something like that?
Yeah, so one of the great question. So we typically the way we charge is based on truck hour and disposal ton. But the way the town of Atkinson administers their program is the residents would sign up at the town hall if they do need a bulk pickup, and there is a specific list of items that are eligible to be picked up. It's up to the town whether or not they want to administer a fee for that registration or not. I recommend it as a level of control mechanism, because again, they still have the option of using the transfer station. And, you know, you do the signups, you provide us the list of residents' addresses and items, and we're able to take that information and put it into a routing software to route our trucks in the most efficient manner to go out there and pick up the bulk waste. If we kind of go into it blind, we always plan for worst case scenarios, and that's when our cost of operations tend to accelerate pretty quickly. So with a little bit of pre-planning, it allows us to control the costs a lot better. Just to give an estimate, I think I told you, Andy, typically an iteration for the town of Atkins on a bulk waste between the trucking and the disposal, it's somewhere between $2,000 to $3,000. I think there's 2,600 households in the town of Atkinson, so I know Brentwood's a bit smaller, but just to give you an estimate there.
And I think we also talked about that it's almost cheaper to go to Raymond than what we charge for a bulky goods item.
That is correct. That is correct.
I think, would you charge $5 now?
Yeah, when you do the weight, like an average weight, I think it's basically up to 50 pounds, Andy, that we said would be that $5. Yeah,
That's assuming that you could get there, though.
yeah.
Correct.
We had a email from a resident asking if we should switch up how we're doing recycling. I know that we've had problems in the past with our recycling not being clean, like you were talking about. Would there be any benefit to setting up a place where people could bring their recycling and sort it, and then you could pick it up from there?
So that's considered source separation. Source separation is almost becoming, I don't want to say a thing of the past, but you have to have the infrastructure necessary to be able to handle a large volume of that source separation. Probably the best example locally here would be the town of Derry. They have a drop-off transfer station, and they have their own baling equipment there. And so basically they'll bale that source separated material there. They have trailers that they load up, and then those will be shipped off to the commodities market, and there is some benefit there. But for a town like Brentwood, where you're not generating a ton of volume, the mixed recycling we trademark as zero sort recycling is the best option for residents. Overall, we audit. You may not know about it, but we do audit material from all the communities we service on a very regular basis. And overall, the town does a very good job of keeping, you know, clean recycling that we pick up. So there's obviously a lot of informational support that we can offer and education. I did last year a little segment at the library for folks that wanted to attend about recycling, the recycling market, our infrastructure. So we run one of the largest material recovery facilities east of the Mississippi in Boston, Massachusetts, that just went through a giant retrofit last year with all new equipment and robotics that allows us to be a lot more efficient, reduces our labor requirements, and ultimately produces a better product on the back end. So happy to have sessions like I did at the library last year to help educate residents that wish to.
Can you talk a little bit about what the process would be for residents getting carts if we go automated?
Yeah, so basically the offering is we would, the overall offering would include the carts. And so we would manage that whole process for the municipality. The delivery of the carts, we would use, we typically use a third-party vendor for the delivery. The only thing that we really work with the town on is address verification. And then also determination of cart sizes. And we try to standardize that. If we want to navigate away from a particular cart size, then we'd usually implement some sort of requirement or I should say exception list on why they might be eligible for a particular alternative cart size. But we take care of the entire delivery process. We would provide the town a full roll-up of by address and by serial number, all the carts that are delivered out there on the street. Once the program and collection go on through the entirety of the contract, we take care of all cart maintenance throughout that process. If there's a new resident in town, if a cart goes missing, we take care of all those replacements and replenishments over that time period. And so at the end of the day, there's really not a heavy burden on the town. Obviously, there's a lot of communication that happens at the onset just to make sure people understand the program, but we try to carry all that heavy lifting for the municipality. Yes.
So what does a cart equal in terms of like a bin? So how do you
Yeah, so
equate the two?
Yeah, so your typical garbage barrel at the curb might be from 30 to 45 gallons in size. The carts that we offer, the standard two sizes is a 65-gallon cart and a 95-gallon cart. My comment to Andy is with the every other week recycling program, I strongly encourage the 95-gallon cart. So that way folks have the ability to, recycle. We live in the Amazon era. And so it provides, as long as people break down the cardboard and work through the recycling appropriately, that's plenty of capacity. I live in a four-person household with every other week recycling automated, and I only have a 96-gallon cart. Again, there's exceptions, right? You might be a large household in excess of 4 people in the household that, again, we work with the municipality to offer additional carts and how that program would be administered if needed. At the end of the day, we want to make sure that there's a sufficient solution for everybody in town. So
basically a cart would equal 2 trash barrels.
so basically 2 standard carts or barrels would probably be the equivalent of a 64-gallon cart, 65, because those carts are anywhere from 32-gallon, I believe. Some of the larger ones that are more with wheels on them can be up to 45-gallon.
So
Yeah.
all right, then equal to 2 trash
Yep.
barrels plus then some additional volume for your recycling.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think ultimately with the 8-bag limit in town, my suggestion would be, it probably would make sense to do a 95-gallon for trash and a 95-gallon for recycling. Just because the 65, in some cases, depending on how they're loaded, you might only get 5 to 6 bags in there. And knowing that the 8-bag limit, you would probably want to be in line with that.
So is that, and then again, the recycling would be in addition.
Yeah, there's 2 carts per household. So you get 1 trash cart and 1 recycling cart. Sorry for not specifying that. Yep.
Well, I think you had a question last week about cost savings or cost difference between manual and automation.
I did, but that was a week ago. I forgot.
2 weeks ago.
I feel that.
So what, can you,
Yeah, so putting the numbers together, I do have, and I'll give it to the select board of what the cost of automation would look like after we finish this discussion today. But we did look at the manual. Ultimately, per my comments to Andy, and I'd had them with Karen previously, is we're really working to get to automation. If we have to do manual as an interim to get us there over a period of time, that's understandable due to all the logistic moves. But it's about it's in excess of $25,000 more a year for the manual collection. Yep.
Okay. For the towns that are doing it, like Danville, Stratham, have there been any particular major problems, issues, townspeople have any difficulties with the new process?
No, I think overall, at the end of the day, right, it is a change that affects every single resident in town and touches every resident in town. So there's a lot of questions. Some folks have concerns. But at the end of the day, once you get the program up and initiated, a lot of those concerns go away quite readily. And then obviously there's always the handful that you got to kind of work through individually to make sure that they have the appropriate amount of service. But once all that's done and the program is up and running, it's very seamless.
Okay.
Yeah.
When did you say the contract is up?
End of the year?
Yes, the end of this year. Yeah.
So 6 weeks.
Cool. No problem.
That's why he's here tonight.
Yeah, there was a disconnect for a bit. I'd had conversations, and
Yeah.
then again, there was no communication for a while. Thankfully, Andy reached out, and we were able to kind of get back on track there. So,
Can we make this decision that quickly, or should we? Would you be willing to give us some sort of extension?
Yeah, so I think that's where I wanted to get feedback tonight and work of how do we get there, right? I understand the timing. At the end of the day, we want to be a good partner to the community and figure out a way forward. And again, this discussion, needed to obviously happen. And so I wanted to be able to give the board something to think about, be able to give you the opportunity to ask questions. If you require more information from me, I'm more than happy to provide that. Obviously, I know there's a gap in communication, and so I'm just trying to, as quickly as possible, fill that gap. And obviously work with the town on how do we make this work as we get into the new year. So.
Shane, is this something that you could maybe open up? See if the public has any questions?
If we'd want to, sure, we absolutely could. I mean, I think that it sounds like this is sort of the direction, if we're going to stay with Casella, the direction that we pretty much need to go as we move forward.
Yes.
And that it does represent a cost savings for the town, but we'll have that sort of pain point of change that, can
Yes.
be more painful for some of us than others
Yep.
when we change something.
Yep.
But that's sort of how I'm interpreting it. Is there anyone here tonight who wants to make a comment about this? Yeah,
Come here. Come.
yeah, we've got another microphone. We can have you make a comment.
You know we can't hear you.
Good evening, Doug Finnan, Gopher. If I understood correctly, you made mention about an e-bag, is that correct? Going into the trash? Or the plastic bag, is that?
No, I was, sorry, I was talking about recycling. So in the recycling material, we don't like to get plastic bags. So when we send the material to our plant, plastic bags get caught up in our turnbuckles of the machinery. And so then people have to get in there and cut them out, and it's a very,
So the plastic bags that go into the trash, you
Yes.
don't provide those? We still have to buy store-bought?
yeah, store-bought bags. Yes,
okay.
sir. Yes, yep, absolutely.
Anyone else interested in making a comment? Liz, come on up.
Liz Faria, South Road. I had two questions. One is, who buys the carts or the trash? Does the town or do the?
Casella's buying the carts, and they're just included in your overall cost of collection to the community.
Okay, so if we get the 95, there's no difference for the residents between the 95 and the 65?
Well, I guess in your option to choose the size of the carts,
In terms
or
of contract
so-
cost?
Yeah,
Or-
is there a cost if I want the bigger barrels? Do I have to
No,
pay
so
separately
the-
from the
yeah, so
town?
so basically the proposal I'm putting in for the town, they have the option to choose either or size. My recommendation to the town would be to standardize the cart selection sizes, and then again create criteria that would allow residents to go off of that. So for example, some communities have done based on age, size of household, driveway length, again, as criteria to select an alternative cart size.
But there would be one, either of each size or one of the same size that we get if we sign up, correct?
Yes, there would be, each resident would receive one cart for trash and one cart for recycling.
Could they be different sizes? Like, we have
Yes.
more recycling than we do. trash.
Yes, so in some communities, they have a 65-gallon cart for trash and a 95-gallon cart for recycle.
But would that be, could different households pick which, or no? Would they have to be like, everybody has the,
Again, we would work with the town, the board to identify and standardize a cart size. And then again, my recommendation again would be to create criteria for alternative sizes if needed.
okay. And you said right now we have an 8-bag limit for regular trash?
That is the way the contract is written.
I never knew that.
It
In
is-
all the years
Now you
I've
do.
known
It's in the contract, but difficult to administer, right? So if you get into a location where there's several houses densely connected together, or they put all their material out in the same spot,
You just throw
you know-
one over to the.
you know, yeah.
It's
then
like-
it's- yeah, I mean, we're not gonna get in the business accounting. We're gonna
Now-
make sure that the resident,
yeah,
community
if-
stays clean.
Okay, and if we don't, like, we either have to go with this if the select board picks it, or we take care of our own trash?
No,
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 we could
You know,
find
at the-
another vendor. We could
yeah.
go with manual for now.
Yeah,
at
at
the
the end of the
higher
day, for Casella, we want to, as I was saying earlier, we want to put ourselves on a pathway to automation. If we have to do a period of time to allow for logistics and communication to take place, that will get us past the new year and continual manual, we're willing to do that, but we want the goal of the end game being automation.
I just
Yeah.
don't want to buy the bags like
Yeah.
Exeter.
Nope,
Yeah.
you don't have to
Because
buy the
then
bags.
none of the trash by the side of the road would be picked up. Thank you.
Anyone else interested in making a comment? All right. So the board will think about this. We'll, as always, invite the public to weigh in if they have any thoughts on this. And to Becky's comment, maybe we can post something on the town website and or Facebook, just asking people if they have strong feelings about this. And then maybe reconvene and talk about this again at an upcoming meeting. Does that sound like a good plan? I'm seeing yes in general. Thank you, Brian, so much. Did you have some printed materials
Yeah, I'm gonna
for
give
us?
you these.
Great.
There's 5 copies here
Perfect.
that you can hand out to the board.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, no
That
problem.
was
Thank you for your
helpful
time.
information.
Yep. And I'll just look to hear from Andy, I guess.
Yeah.
Andy will be my primary point of
Yes.
contact?
Mhm.
Okay.
That would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We will get back on to our discussion action items and we'll invite Daphne up to make a statement about the election.
Are you going there or here?
You come here.
I like you sit next to me.
Just don't touch me. Okay, so we had our general election. It went fantastically. The residents were so kind. Everybody was so kind that came through. I think, especially with this election, the media really got everybody stirred up, and we were great. I just did want to express some thanks. We had almost all of our people that normally help us out, and I just wanted to say, you know, specifically to our officer in charge, Justin Doty, Corporal Chris Spitaleri, and Corporal James Saltzman. They were there all day, and it was super cute watching them with the people that needed help outside, and so many people were happy to see them. We just really wanted to thank them. The highway department and the fire department helped us set up, helped us break down. They did that for all of our elections. They were fantastic. All of our ballot clerks, I could laundry list all of their names, but they know who they are, and they were fantastic. Our select board, thank you for
Doug?
hanging
And
out with
Doug
us.
and Jack Mitchell,
Doug
our
and
subs.
Jack. Yes, fantastic. Of course, my girls, thank you so much. Anyway, I just did want to say that. We had a record turnout. We had 3,147 people vote, which is insane. And
Mm-hmm.
it was fantastic.
Great.
So that's what I wanted to say about
That's
that.
what we'd like to hear. Thank you. And thank you for all your hard work too.
Certainly. Are we going to my budget now? or
We
do you
can
want me to leave?
absolutely go to that next since you're already sitting up here.
Go away.
Do you want to
Fantastic.
invite any friends up or are you just going to start?
Do I have any friends? Oh, there you are. No,
you
they're
have,
here.
You have friends. All right, so we've got the town clerk, tax collector, town meeting, and election budgets,
Where would you like me to start?
wherever you would like.
Let's start with town clerk.
Okay.
So the increases in town clerk are almost solely for hour increases and raises, for a better term. Also, the retirement and the FICA and Medicare are also increases. I don't have any other increases throughout here. And if you wanted me to explain the hour increase so that people understand.
I think that might be helpful because there's been some
Okay.
swaps that have happened in your department.
So this past year, two of the other two people in my office swapped positions. Heather is now the deputy. Joyce is my assistant clerk. She's only with me for 16 hours a week. Historically, in the past, we always had people there at least 32 hours, and I'm not complaining because I love Joyce. Don't get me wrong. But I feel like we're drowning. We're coming in earlier, we're leaving later, trying to get caught up. And so that is what this is for, is bringing Heather and I to 40 hours, which we have talked about in the past.
So Daphne, just to clarify, in the past that that extra clerk was a more full-time,
A 32
was
hour.
a 32
person,
hour. Do you know at what point it was dropped down to 16?
yeah. It dropped when
Was it during COVID or?
was just before, I forget when you got hired.
So just before COVID, that change occurred?
So, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And now those hours are not meeting your needs and the needs of the
They are definitely
townspeople?
not meeting our needs. And
Okay.
part of that, just so the people understand, we are the only department that's open 5 days a week. And I'm not complaining, but I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining. I am not complaining. But we are the only office open 5 days a week. Our population, like it or not, has increased with Three Ponds and the other places that have been built. So yeah, we're dying. And if I have a meeting outside of the office that leaves somebody in the office, one person in the office, and I can't have that. It's just, number one, there's too much work to be done because it's taxes and town clerk stuff. It's too much. So that is why we are asking for that, which would in fact make Heather eligible for retirement. So that is why the increase in the retirement as well.
Her hours are going from what to what?
They're going from 32 to 40.
Okay.
Mine
And
are going
yours
from 35
35?
to 40. So we're still 3 hours less than we used to be, but I think we're gonna work with that for now.
Okay.
Unless my Joyce ever leaves me, and then I'm just gonna quit because I can't even imagine.
So you're adding 8 hours and 5 hours.
We're adding
Yep.
13 hours.
Okay.
Yes. And that is the only change in town clerk. All of the other items are staying. the
Yeah,
same.
everything else looks level funded for
Yes.
you. Okay. Board questions, comments for Daphne about this town clerk budget?
So last year's budget was $76,610, and this year requested is $94,039, and I would move that.
Okay, other-
94,039.
We have a motion for the 94,039.
Second.
There's a second. Other discussion, questions, or comments?
Yeah, it's a decent-sized increase, but you're
'Cause the
justified,
budget's so
you're
small.
justified in requesting it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You guys work really hard, or you ladies work really hard.
Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, we have a motion and a second on the table for the 94,039. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we will pass that unanimously. All right, staff, next.
And then if we want to move into tax, it's exactly the same thing. No
Because
other
basically the
changes.
positions are just split in
They're
two, right?
split in two. So it's exactly the same thing. Nothing else is increasing. It's staying the same.
They have some different lines, but those are all level funded, it looks like.
Yes.
All right, questions about that for Daphne?
I move the 95,138.
Is there a second? We have Letty and Andy. Any questions or comments? Seeing no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. So we'll pass that. Next.
So town meeting, we are going from 5 elections because they consider town meeting also an election, down to 1 next, well, actually down to 2 next year. So that is a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a 30% decrease in this budget just because of the logistics, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
I'll move the 2801.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
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 And I'm an aye. So we'll pass that 2801.
And then in elections, the difference here, again, we're going from 5 elections down to 2, 1, and for some, just 1, because the ballot clerks don't get paid for the town meeting. We don't have ballot clerks at town meeting. So we're going from the 5 elections down to 1. But the supervisors get paid for 2 elections instead of 5.
Right.
The only other difference in this, and this was a suggestion, was to add a police detail for the actual elections, each time having 2 police officers. That's a $1,500 price, I was told. It was originally put into the salaries with the clerks, but I would hope that we would have a separate line. If that is feasible to do, I would like that to be detailed out.
So that top line where it says
Where
salaries.
it says 2,000, that's actually 500 plus the 1,500
Okay.
for the police detail.
Yeah, we did figure out how to add lines.
I learned how to add
Yay!
lines.
So we can do that. We've corrected the other ones as well. All right, so this is a 47% reduction in this budget, just once again because of
Yes.
logistics of elections.
Yeah.
Other questions or comments from the board?
Mm-mm.
I'll move the 9,301.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. I'm an aye, so we will pass that. And I think, is that all we've got for you?
I'm done.
That's all we've got for you.
That's
Thank
all.
you, and thank you for the big role that you played in us having a successful election.
Oh, you are welcome. I will say I'm glad this year is over for election.
Yes, right? This was a long year. All right, the other budgets we have in front of us tonight are town admin and finance. And as we have been over the past weeks, we are once again asking the public's patience as we navigate without our town administrator. We, for these 2 budgets, we have finance in front of us first. And this budget is on here with a small increase that is mostly wages and FICA Medicare benefits, as well as about a $2,500 increase for audit expense, which was presumably just our contractual increase in the cost of our annual audit. So we do have just those personnel increases and the audit increase in here for this budget going from about $113,991 up to $122,745. Board questions or comments about that?
I'll move the 122,745.
Second.
Questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm an aye, so we'll pass that. And next is the town administrator. This goes up just slightly 4% from 129 to 135. That's mostly just based on personnel, salary adjustments, and New Hampshire retirement. Everything else looks to be level funded. Maybe dues and subscriptions looks like it went up from 110 to 150. Just a small increase there. Everything else is level funded.
Just to be clear on this one, this number is a placeholder because we have not done the evaluation
Correct.
for that position yet, and
Correct.
so this is not a guarantee.
Correct.
Just don't want people to get confused.
Yep. Other comments or questions about this budget? Seeing none, anyone interested in making a motion for the 135,066?
Move.
Second.
Any other comments? Seeing none, I'll take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And I'm an aye. So we will pass those. All right, that brings us to the end of our discussion action items. We'll now move on to regular business, and we'll start with committee updates and other board business. And as usual, we'll start with Andy.
We did have a couple people reach out that are interested in helping us with our treasurer And we'll discuss that later in personnel for non-public, but
Great.
it is good to see that we actually had some people reach out to us.
Wonderful.
And, we actually said we do have a deputy treasurer,
We do currently have
books.
one sworn in.
so,
Great. Okay, so we'll discuss that in non-public under hiring.
yes.
Okay. Anything else you have for us?
I have nothing else.
Okay. John?
No, nothing.
Paul?
Yeah, and just reiterate, it was, you know, a good election, you know, great job. And candidates night, Janice, you know, real nice job at the library too, so thank you for that. That's it, other than conservation tomorrow, so I'll report more next week.
Good. And we're continuing to move ahead with finalizing the last couple steps of the Fuller property, right?
We are.
Great. Perfect.
There's an easement, which
Yep.
I just haven't had the time yet to review.
Yep, yep. Sounds like that's gonna just
It's on my list.
take its process. Okay? Letty?
Yes. Committee first, we had a planning board meeting last week. There is apparently some issue with the culverts on Tanya Lane that we're working through. I think that was the main thing we talked about. In terms of other things I'm aware of, the tennis court loam, pickleball court loam is down. The fencing scheduled to start next week.
Awesome.
And then just lines and nets. Downstairs, the PD walls are up. They relocated the alarm strobe. They stripped the floors. They're installing the new floors on Thursday, and the plumbing is scheduled to be done next week, so that should be done at the
Awesome.
end of next week. Kip had tried once again to do an RFP for the rec windows and is still not getting any answers, so I didn't know if the board wanted to see the one quote that he has gotten back and decide if we want to go with that or if we want to keep looking for others.
Remind me how long we've had that open process to try to get
I
bids?
think this is the second or third time he's done an RFP this year. It's been at least 6 months.
Okay. Yeah, I know that's sort of been on the to-do list for a long time. I don't know, has Rec talked about that, the windows at all?
It's come up, yeah.
Yeah.
When we say RFP, does that mean like we've called around to a few people, or does that mean like we posted it somewhere? Just out of curiosity.
I don't know the specifics.
But as far as you know, we only have one bid.
Yep. Kip I had asked him for an update and he said, I put out one more request. They reached out once, but no contact made. We have a solid company that has replied. So if you are if we want to go with that, we can look at that proposal. And
Does the board want Kip to bring the current proposal forward, given the challenging circumstances, or what would the board like to do?
Get more bids?
Yeah, it sounds like we've been trying for 6 months. So I don't know how long the board is comfortable waiting. This has been a project. We have the money for it in the capital reserve fund. We've been talking about it at least since last year, if not since
Right.
I've been on the board. 2.5 years.
I guess I'd wait another quarter.
Yeah.
Suggestion.
Okay. How does the rest of the board feel?
I don't, what are we waiting for? I guess.
Just to see if we can get a competitive bid.
Any
And-
thoughts?
My thoughts would be to see what Kip's thoughts are on the bid, if it's competitive or not. That's not my thing. I don't know contractors, so I mean, I could go through Google it and come up with a bunch of people to send RFPs to, but
Do you want to have Kip maybe just come to our next meeting and give us an update on what he's done and what his thoughts are on
yeah,
it?
what
I
the
think
timeline is.
we should defer to his
I mean,
expertise.
in terms of waiting, I guess the money is coming out of a capital reserve, so we don't have to worry about it
expiring.
expiring before the end of the
Yeah.
year. But
And it's not
not having good windows also feels
Yeah.
bad as we enter into the
Yeah.
heating season.
and there's
so-
certain windows in that building that cannot be opened,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. Okay. So we'll have Kip come to a future meeting with whatever works for him in the next week or two. Okay.
I sent the sign insurance contract back,
Wonderful.
and tomorrow we'll start open enrollment. If I can get that email out.
Awesome.
And should I talk about the fire department position descriptions
Yep.
now?
I think the,
Chief up?
I could.
Yeah,
I was just
we-
gonna.
I think the board received an email week or so ago from the chief with the drafted job descriptions for the deputy fire chief and the lieutenants.
Mhm.
Good evening.
Oh, chief.
Try not to beat me up too bad, I'm tired.
Don't
We
worry.
won't. Chief, have you heard any feedback from any folks in town about these suggestions?
I have not.
Okay.
I don't think we've received any input electronically.
I don't think anything official, no. So, did the board have a chance to review those? They had sort of a nice description of what kind of department Brentwood has, and then what the job entails and what the qualifications are needed for those jobs.
Mhm.
Did anybody have any changes that they recommended or any particular feedback for the chief on those forms? Letty and I looked through them together today and thought they overall looked pretty good. I know, Letty, you had talked about whether or not we would put like a ballpark or starting rate of
salary,
pay or
yeah.
something, if you thought, Chief, that generally you would want to put something like that on a posting, or whether you would prefer not to.
I didn't know if you'd get more responses if people know what they're walking into.
We can put it on if you want. We can do that.
It's kind of up to you in terms of if you think that would help us in our search or create.
You're gonna get what you're gonna get, to be honest with you. It might help a little bit. It
Mhm.
may thin some out. The more expensive ones probably.
Sure, sure.
Somebody coming up from Mass or something.
Yeah.
It's probably better to know that before you
Yeah.
spend time
Right.
and they spend
No,
time.
we can do
interviewing.
that.
Okay.
So with the addition of that, would we just post this? We talked
I
about
think,
posting this?
I think the board needs to make sort of a formal decision. We had left it as these being sort of anticipated openings so that the chief could start getting these ready and get ready to put them up.
Mhm.
And so I'm curious how the board would like to handle things now. We have not had a lot of public comment on this. I think the board in general has been in favor of trying to think outside the box to protect our fire department as we move forward. So I'm curious with how the board would like to move forward in terms of
I
making these
can ask one
decisions.
question?
Please do,
Mhm.
yeah.
How does the budget committee feel about this?
I think that it has been mentioned and previewed at BudCom in
I'm-
terms of, hey, BudCom, this is coming. We need to do this. Keep your ears open.
I
We
just,
do
like I
have a
said,
meeting next
I
week.
hate to go through.
Yeah, I'm scheduled to go
Yeah.
in front of the budget committee next week and specifically
And I think that's an excellent
answer all
question,
of the
because
questions
it's a big
about
change.
this and the other thing, so that when you come for your whole budget, this won't be hopefully part of their question
Yep.
process.
Because we
I'll
do
just
have a
sit with you if you want me
meeting.
to Do that,
Okay.
just let me know when.
We have a meeting on the 18th at 6 PM, and your budget is not on the agenda, but I think it would make sense for this to be on
I
the
think
agenda.
I'm on the agenda for.
I think Jack was going to add
Yeah.
you so that you
For the
could,
18th?
Yes, for next Monday. Next Monday?
correct.
Next Monday.
Yeah.
You're gonna lay it out for them, because I'm supposed to be in the following night to you guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because then the week after that is when you go, the 25th is when you go in front of.
I think
yeah.
that would
Well, in
make some
front-
sense. Chief, I think what I'm hearing you say is put it in front of BudCom and kind of bare bones presentation on Monday, see their general feeling, then you'll be back with us for your full budget, and we can take that feedback into consideration when we make our
Maybe
decisions.
we'll wait till that Tuesday night, and I can put the 2 lines in where you wanna see the salary land in these.
Sure.
And you've got an idea where these
Yeah.
totally sit.
Mhm.
Does
make
that,
sense to
does that make
everybody?
sense to the board?
Yeah, and
to
we
do that
can
process?
also, I learned today how to run different budget scenarios. If you wanted to see how the different things play out in terms of percentages, I know how to do that now.
Great. Excellent.
So-
We're learning all kinds of things.
If you're aiming for a percent or a number, you want to just see kind of where it would all layout, I can run those now.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So anybody opposed to us sort of following that process, going to BudCom next week and then having the chief back with us? Because I think we have you on our regular schedule, right?
For the 19th, that's the reason I'm asking. I just want to make sure
Yes, because we moved you
everybody's
up.
all kind of on the same plane. I don't want to go through this whole process with you guys and then
I think that's an excellent idea.
have naysayers on the other end, or
Yep.
at least a big group
Yep.
thereof, so.
I think that's an excellent way to do the process.
So with that in mind, when would we look to post these positions? After it
I
comes
would
before
think
us and the budget committee?
after-
We should
Certainly,
probably have a
once
better
we get
feel
the
of how they are
sense of, of what BudCom feels about it.
Mhm.
Because BudCom is officially reviewing fire, I think the following
The 25th.
week, right? Yeah, the following week. So depending what the reception is from BudCom, potentially either that week or the following week. Yeah, 25th is when
I
they're
mean,
doing
So
fire.
you're looking at,
do we have a meeting on the 26th? I'm assuming we do.
I would assume we do, yeah.
So we could take that feedback into account.
26th, we should, yep.
Okay.
Okay,
so we're looking at the 1st of December before we post these then.
potentially.
I thought we talked
Just-
about last meeting posting them with
Posting as
just
anticipated.
anticipated, just so the posting gets out
We
there.
did talk about that, yeah. Would you be comfortable with that, even if in worst-case scenario, it doesn't work out the way we're thinking it will? And we have to pull them? Because that's the risk.
We can't not
I hear you,
do this.
I
So,
hear you,
I mean, it just-
I hear you.
I'm not saying that. I'm wholeheartedly defending this, but I don't want it to be a problem along the way that you've got all these people lined up to do something. And then you decide, whoop, go pull the card. And then you decide to do it later, and those people, you weren't interested in it in the first time, or you weren't
So
through.
maybe the safest middle ground would be have the BudCom discussion next Monday.
Yeah,
if
I'm thinking
BudCom's
I'm thinking in that
generally
direction too.
in
Do the
favor.
BudCom discussion on Monday,
Yep,
readdress it
To
on
get an
Tuesday,
idea.
on the
Yep.
Tuesday night.
Yep.
If you still feel that way, then you can post
Post
it
'em next week.
subject with the idea
Well,
of.
it says right
yeah,
here in
right.
anticipation.
Subject to that.
okay, I think that
I
sounds
mean,
reasonable.
I don't know about the rest of the board, but this is this specific thing, and these wage adjustments are important to me, and so I'm keeping this in mind as I'm looking at other budgets.
Sure, yeah, of course. Yep, I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay, so board generally in favor of that, of rediscussing this next week when we do the fire budget, and if the BudCom has been generally favorable for this, then we could maybe post the anticipated openings.
Mhm.
Okay, Chief, sounds good to you?
Sounds
Okay.
good to me.
And once again, to Becky's point, maybe when we do that posting on the Facebook, we can also say that we're considering, expanding some positions
Monday,
at the fire department
the
and
18th, what
let
time?
people give us their
Yes.
feedback, since we haven't gotten a lot of
Okay,
feedback.
you'll let me know.
Hold on, let me look.
And I can help you with like the wording of that if you want.
Um,
Okay? Anything else you have for us, Chief, or are you good?
6 o'clock.
Just to keep you updated on the ALS progress, we met with the chief from Plastow. We are meeting with another group tomorrow at my station, and we're going forward with that. So hopefully
Great.
we will have something in the not-too-distant future, because everybody is sitting with the same problem, that they've got town meetings coming up, and if it's gonna cost something,
Right,
everybody needs to know upfront.
right.
I'm gonna let you know that the grant that I was chasing for a ladder truck has fallen through. Found out the feds will only come up with $1 million, and you don't wanna know what the other half is. To be honest, we're looking, the last quote I got was 1.5, and the other one was 1.675. Waiting on one more, which he told me would be closer to 2 at this point.
Okay.
Okay,
I think that's all I've got.
all right, thank you.
Thank you very much. You guys have a good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Letty, anything else that you had?
Probably. I'm sure I'll think of it later.
Yeah. In terms of updates from me, we did have BudCom, as Michelle Sudit mentioned, last night, where we did a site walk at the Brentwood Historical Society. That building has a variety of sort of small and some medium and some larger projects that are on their wish list and on the capital improvement plan that range from some stabilization and pest issues in the basement to wireless and security system that we've talked about here before and is kind of a conversation happening offline, to potential window replacements at some point because they have single pane windows in that building, and then obviously also include the septic, well, hot water heater, et cetera, to replace their current incinerating toilet with a flush toilet and a sink with running water. So there's kind of a variety of different projects there. And as we talked about, those are on the CIP. And I had mentioned, I think at this board meeting, maybe, I don't know, a month or two ago when this had come up prior, we had discussed that as a nonprofit organization, that organization does potentially have some ability to do some fundraising. Dexter Swayze was not feeling like it was very appealing to do fundraising for a bathroom, which, like, I hear that. But I wondered and did sort of suggest to them that that organization might want to consider if any people in the community might be willing to fundraise for some of the other projects, like the wireless or the pest control or some of the stabilization and cleanup in the basement. So I did put that out there, given that we were very fondly surprised by how the community responded to the library outreach, that it might be worth at some point seeing if the Historical Society outreach might be able to help with some costs of some of these repairs. And we do still have money left in ARPA, which we will be discussing in the coming weeks in terms of how to allocate that money. And we do have the option also to use that money to offset any budget line items to reduce the tax rate as well. So we have all those moving parts. And we do, as we just discussed, have a regular BudCom meeting next week at 6 p.m. here. And I think that's the only updates that I have. Does anybody else have any other? Oh, we do. Yes, this is it, right? We have an intent to cut for 163 North Road. And who was it that we had come visit us, Jillian, that was so helpful with this? He was from the state forestry service or whatever. One of two people. He came and helped Jillian to make sure we are doing this process correctly and was very helpful. And so we appreciate his time. So we do have here for the intent to cut for the 163 North Road.
Moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye, and all of us have to sign it here. I think that was all we had for paperwork, right? Okay. Yes, the voting machine was a little bit less.
And I
And the
expect
police mold is
project
likely
is
going to
gonna be
come in
less.
under the projection. So we will have a little bit of wiggle room with ARPA that we can rediscuss at an upcoming meeting.
Can we just backtrack to Historical Society for a minute?
Sure.
Maybe have Kip go over and look at the stabilization problem?
I think he
Um,
has,
I'm not
oh,
sure.
in the past, I mean, that
Like-
was mentioned last night, right? Yeah.
I
yeah.
mean, would Kip be the best person just because it's an old building? Are there special old building things that need to be done?
As a building inspector, I would assume he would be able to know where.
Yeah, I don't know, do you remember Dexter mentioning when the last time Kip was over there? Yeah, so that might be helpful. They definitely have a couple of beams underneath in the basement that have some sort of pest damage, like whether it's beetles or something like that. And they have had some prior stabilization down there with some boards. So it might be good for us to have Kip kind of check that out as we move forward. That building was built in the 1850s, so it is definitely an older building. Any other regular board business before we go into non-public?
I feel like we've got to be forgetting something. This feels too easy.
All right, my awareness is what we have for non-public is we have, under category A, we also have category B, which is hiring. We have C, reputation, and we have L, legal. any other categories that anybody has to bring forward in non-public? That's 4. I think that probably covers us.
Motion.
We'll have a motion by John,
Second.
second by Andy. Roll call vote to go into non-public. Andy?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Letty? Aye. And I'm an aye. So we'll go into non-public at 7:05 after just maybe taking a brief bathroom break if anybody needs one. A donut break?
A donut break?